What's up, legends? Benchmark Bets is back, and today we've got a stacked AFL Sunday slate with North Melbourne taking on the Tigers, Melbourne taking on Brisbane Lions, and then finally we've got Fremantle taking on West Coast Eagles. In this video, I'm going to give you my prediction on the winner, prediction on the game total, and any player props that I'm loving. So buckle up, I've done the homework. Let's hit these and stack these wins. So let's start with the first game between North Melbourne and Richmond, and then let's look at the team lineups. So a few changes for the Tigers. They welcome in Hugo Ralphsmith, Samson Ryan, Patrick Rechko, and also Kane McAuliffe, coming in for Luke Traynor, Jacob Hopper, Oliver Hayes-Brown, and Tom Brown. Rechko is making his debut for the Tigers today. Did play for the Cats last season in like one or two games. Looked pretty promising, so let's see how he goes in the Tigers. And in terms of North Melbourne side, they are welcoming back Lockie Doverston in for Zach Banch. Doverston scored 6 goals in the VFL last week, so definitely a nice little inclusion for them. And in terms of the winner, definitely going with North Melbourne, and I'm going with North Melbourne to win by 1 to 39 points. So pretty much the way I see this game going is that it'll be pretty contested up until half time, and then after that North Melbourne should be able to kick away. Everyone thinks that North Melbourne is actually better than what they are, but I still think that they're pretty average. The only thing they got going for them at the moment is their fast ball movement, but their skills are just not as good as what people think they are. Even though they got Alistair Clarkson coaching for them finally again, but I just still don't see North Melbourne beating these guys of 40 plus. And in terms of the total, they have it set at 183.5, and I lean the under here. So I can definitely see North Melbourne scoring at least 100, but I definitely don't see Richmond scoring over 80. So in terms of another total, I'm liking Richmond under 76.5. So yeah, just the way that the Tigers have been playing and how their forward line is absolutely decimated at the moment, and they've got no ruck, I just can't see them scoring enough points to get over the 76.5. So I'll go with Richmond under 76.5 and then North Melbourne to win by 1 to 39 points. And in terms of player props, I'm liking 4 player props here. So the first one I'm liking is LDU for 22 plus disposals. So this season, he's gone over this line in every single game. One of the main midfielders for North Melbourne besides Harry Sheezel. So I could definitely see him easily getting 22 plus, even more here. Has a very good matchup. The Tigers give up the 6th most amount of disposals to inside midfielders and also the 5th most amount of disposals overall. So LDU for 22 plus disposals. Then for the second leg, I'm going with Tim Taranto for 19 disposals. So he's hit this in every single game this season, even in tough matchups against Port Adelaide and the GWS, he can still get them. And in terms of the last 26 games, he's only gone under this line once, and that was against Port Adelaide. So definitely see him getting 19 disposals here. Did get a 19 against North Melbourne in their last matchup where they got absolutely destroyed. And then for the third leg, liking Gus Himskin for 17 plus disposals. So he's hit this in every single game so far this season. Does have a good matchup. The Tigers give up the 5th most amount of disposals to mid forwards, and then also the 5th most amount of disposals overall. So definitely see Simpkin getting it up and amongst these disposals today. And then finally, the last leg is Luke Parker for 20 disposals. So he has a new role this season, playing as one of the generals down in defense, with Caleb Daniel moving more into a mid forward. So Caleb Daniel will be that link between the forwards and the midfielders, and then Parker is their main general down in defence now. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the North Melbourne and Tigers game. Then let's go to the second game between the D's and Brisbane Lions, and then let's look at the team lineups. So a few changes for both sides. Let's go with the D's first. So they welcome in Max Heath, Xavier Taylor, Bailey Laurie, and also Matthew Jefferson. And Xavier Lindsay, Jake Melksham, Tom McDonald, and Christian Salem all come out. Max Heath and Taylor make their debut for the D's today. So Heath played for St Kilda last year, played like 1 or 2 games and should be a backup ruckman for the D's, but also as a tall target for them down forward to take on Harris Andrews. And then Xavier Taylor was a #1 draft pick last draft. Looks like a pretty nice, promising player. Replaces Christian Salem until he's back. And then obviously Jefferson and Bailey Laurie coming in for the other 2 guys. And then in terms of Lions, they do lose Dane Zorko. Pretty big loss for them, but they do have a few other players that can take his role with Kitty Coleman and also Jasper Fletcher and Darcy Milner-Wilmot can all take his position. And then Noah Answorth comes in. Nice little small defender for them. And then in terms of winner, I'm liking Brisbane Lions to win and Brisbane to only win by 139. So I see this game being much more closer than what people anticipate it to be. I understand, yes, the D's lost to Essendon pretty substantially last week, but Essendon just played better and they have a much different game mode that they have now, whereas Brisbane play more of like a kick mark and they're much more slower, and I think that matches the D's much more better. And in terms of the game total, they have it set at 188.5, and honestly, I lean the under. So I can definitely see Brisbane scoring at least 100. I just don't see Melbourne scoring at least 60 or 70 points here. So I'm actually liking these total of 81.5, and I'm going to go the under with that one. So yeah, I just don't see the D's being able to score 70, let alone 80 points against Brisbane today. So I'll take Brisbane 1-39, and then also the D's under 81.5, was it? Yeah, under 81.5. And then finally, some player legs that I'm liking. So first I'm liking is Levi Ashcroft for 16 disposals. So one of the main guys along the wing, loves getting amongst the disposals, has hit this in every single game this season so far. And he's only gone under this line once in the last 6 games. So once in the last 7 games, which is very, very good. Does have a good matchup. The D's do give up the most amount of disposals for the outside midfielders and also the most disposals overall. And then also going with Jarrett Berry for 16 disposals. So pretty much the same sort of player as Levi Ashcroft. Loves to get amongst the disposals along the wing. He's only gone under this line once when he was tagging Isaac Heaney. But Heaney dragged him forward and got absolutely destroyed. And then finally, going with Josiah Pickett for 19 disposals. So since he's moved into a permanent midfield role, he's gotten 33, 25 and 28 disposals. Did get 25 against the Suns, who are a pretty difficult matchup for him. It will be a pretty difficult matchup for him today. We should definitely be able to be amongst those disposals. And then let's look at the third and final game between West Coast Eagles and also the Fremantle Dockers. And let's look at the team lineups first. A few changes for both sides. So we'll start with the Eagles. They bring in Jamie Cripps, Milan Murdoch and Elliot Yeo for Matthew Owens, David Robertson and also Jack Graham. Obviously, like-for-like replacements for each of those, which is good for them. And then for Fremantle, they bring in Hayden Young, Mason Cox and Michael Frederick for Jager Amira, Sean Darcy and Christopher Sterry. So Mason Cox makes his debut for Fremantle here. It's just pretty much a replacement for Sean Darcy. Let's see how he goes. Obviously, when he was playing for Collingwood, he did have some good games and some shit games. So hopefully that's not the fact here for him. And then obviously they welcome back Hayden Young, who is a promising midfielder for them. And in terms of the winner, I'm liking Fremantle to win here. And Fremantle to win by 40 plus. So this is going to be pretty much like the Sydney game. Fremantle's going to absolutely just run over them and just demolish them. So I'll mostly look at the Fremantle handicap of negative 44.5, and then also West Coast Eagles team total of 70.5. Definitely lean under on that one. And then in terms of the actual match total of 187.5, I lean the over. So I can see Fremantle kicking at least 120, 130 here against them. And then West Coast will be able to get that 60 to get over 187.5, especially at Subiaco. Especially at Optus Stadium. They should definitely be able to get over that. And then in terms of some player props, there is 3 that I'm liking. So first one is good old Mr. Reliable, Jordan Clark, for 19 disposals. So he does have a pretty tough matchup here, but Eagles give up his uncontested possessions, and that's exactly where Jordan Clark thrives in. So as you can see, against Geelong and Adelaide, he missed in Adelaide, but then Geelong, he just got it. But they were much more contested games, whereas in the D's, Tigers and Collingwood game, they're much more uncontested, and that's where Jordan Clark should be able to feast here today. And then going with one of the main midfield boys in Caleb Strong for over 24 disposals. So he has a very good matchup here today. So the Eagles give up the most amount of disposals to inside midfielders, which Caleb Strong should be able to absolutely dominate here. And then finally, going one for Eagle boys, going with Tom McCarthy for 70 disposals. So he's one of the main kick-ins for the Eagles now. Does have a bit of a tough matchup, but he should definitely be able to get 17 disposals. Hit this in every single game in his career so far. So that's pretty much it for today's video. If you're loving the content, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to keep up to date with all my AFL videos, yeah, subscribe. Until next time, stay safe, good luck with your bets, and catch you next one. Laters.